Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Monday, August 7th, 2023, and we welcome you to the August meeting of the Milford Board of Aldermen. Please join me as we salute our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, good evening. Will you please take the roll?
Alderman Archiola.
Present.
Alderman Beatty.
Present.
Alderman Broster.
Present.
Alderman Casey.
Here.
Alderman Gurman.
Here.
Alderman Genentasio.
Here.
Alderman Marlowe.
Here.
Alderman Moffett.
Here.
Alderman Moore.
Present.
Alderman Mulrennan.
Here.
Alderman Picelli. Alderman Parente.
Here.
Alderman Vitro.
Here.
Alderman Vitale. Alderman Willis.
Here.
All are present.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam Secretary. We do have a quorum. The next portion of the meeting is devoted to public comment. Statements are strictly limited to the legislative function of the Board of Aldermen. Please use every effort to limit public speaking to the permissible business of the Board of Aldermen. The time limit granted to each speaker shall be 3 minutes. Residents, taxpayers, and electors may address the board at this time. The board encourages speakers not to express derogatory, insensitive, or offensive statements or to engage in personal attacks against individuals. In order to allow everyone an opportunity to speak, I'd ask that everyone please limit their comments to 3 minutes. Anyone wishing to address the board can do so at this time. You come up to the podium and tell your name and address for the secretary on the record. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Patrick O'Connor. I live at 28 Shea Avenue in Milford, in District 3. And I just wanted to express my displeasure, and I don't speak for myself when I say this. I'm just addressing the recent construction of the Walnut Beach cage at the Devon Rotary Pavilion. It was put up beginning of July. In retrospect, this fencing, or the cage, if you know what I'm speaking of, seems rather ill-considered, and it has created negative blowback. When I called the mayor's office the first day I saw it, the lady answering the phone seemed to indicate that its purpose was alcohol control function at private parties when the space is least rented out. The problem with the cage is that it obstructs the view. There's about 100 people that fit under the pavilion for the concerts on Sundays. It obstructs the view of the band, of the dance floor, and the general scene. And the Sunday concerts have been wildly successful in that it's really the pavilion's major use. And I also say there is a hazard component to this because of entrapment. As most of us are well aware, this country averages almost 2 mass shootings a day, so you really don't want to keep people fenced in and boxed in with an egress issue. Who and how the cage became into being is less important than getting it scheduled to take down. It's not necessary. It was a solution seeking for a problem, apparently. And for the record, I'd just like to state that it'd be best to remove the cage. And I'd really like to see the aldermen state their position for the record on this, and also mayoral candidates. If you've been down to Walnut Beach, you know these concerts are very successful. And this really, fences and cages are designed to keep us separate. It defies inclusion. If it's a big labor savings thing for the 4 or 5 parties that get rented out for bar mitzvahs or weddings or so forth, that for years has been taken care of with a snow fence, if that's the case. If the cost of putting that up and taking it down, that could just be baked into the cost of renting that facility, like it has been at the beginning of time. So I'd just like to ask that aldermen go on record as to what the position is and just try to structure some kind of concept to get it removed. Thank you very much.
My name is Francine Placco, and I live at Great River at 66 Centennial Drive. In 2020, the town posted signs to remove the diseased ash trees due to the emerald ash borer insects. In 2021, the town cut down the trees, and we had 2 trees on our property that were cut down, but the stumps were never removed or the roots. To date, the stump is about 10 feet tall, with all bushy branches spreading all over my lawn and blocking view at my driveway and also my neighbor's driveway at 66 Centennial Drive. This has been an ongoing problem for both of us for safety issues. It's obstructing the driveway view when we're going out of our driveways because we can't see if cars or a person is walking or anything. It also has become an issue that people park to hide behind the trees, and we can't see at night to see if someone's in the car lurking around. And now, the tree, because it's so tall, it's split in the middle, and now the roots and the tree have spread in half on our property, both of our properties on our lawn, and the roots are there, and you can't cut the grass. The people that take care of our lawns can't go in that area because this is all roots and part of the tree that is still left there. I have contacted and put work orders into the town since 2020. I have spoke to Steve Johnson by text, by message, sent text photos on an ongoing basis because of this issue. I contacted Public Works in August of 2022 and in 7/2023 and spoke to Janet, faxed photos, and another work order. In 7/2023, I spoke to Simone and emailed work order and photos again of how this tree is growing taller and it's getting worse and worse and become a bigger problem. I spoke to Alderman Matt on October of 2022, and I also spoke to him just recently in July of 2023. I've been emailing him all the correspondence that I've had with the town, with different players that I've been trying to work with to try to get this resolved because it has been an ongoing problem, and I've been sending photos, and no action to date has been taken. And no response or no follow-up comes to me to say that, we're working on it, we're going to have it taken care of. I explained about the security issues and everything, and my neighbor who can't be here tonight, and she lives at 66, she said that recently she's called the town Public Works and also expressed problems too. We would like the stump removed, the 10-foot bushy branches and roots removed, and there's another stump on my property also that needs to be removed. I do have a photo of what it looks like today, if you're interested to seeing what it looks like today. Today, it is Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I hope we get resolution.
Hello, Richard Stephen, 232 West River Street. I'll just read my statement here. I'm here tonight to ask our city to pass a noise ordinance. Excessive noise impacts the quality of life and health. In the past, I've had personal experiences dealing with excessive noise from businesses and residents, and probably a lot of people have in this room. The police normally can't do anything about it if it happens between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m., no matter how loud the noise might be. We also now have vehicle owners altering not only their exhaust systems, but their carburetors as well, to make their cars backfire multiple times, which sounds like gunshots. And I know the police have been called about this many times. And these noises from these backfiring is way above decibel levels that most towns who do have a noise ordinance would not allow. In fact, there are 68 cities in Connecticut that care about their citizens enough to have a noise ordinance. I hope this board and mayor care enough about the quality of life in Milford and Milford citizens to not only enact a noise ordinance, but to provide the funds that need to happen to enforce it. We have a great city and I'd like to keep it that way. Thank you.
Need some light in here. My name's Tony Catapano. I live on Brewster Road, 94, for a long time, for 30 years. I'm here tonight again on behalf of 24 residents on Brewster Road, all of whom signed a petition back in early May requesting a meeting with our 4th District Alderman, the mayor, and the Milford Little League. As one of my neighbors recently told me, it's a shame they don't have much respect for us as homeowners than to at least meet with us. According to an article published on July 4th in the Milford Mirror, I'm quoting Mayor Richard Smith and Board of Aldermen Chair Phil Vitro said they hope to have a meeting with league officials to see if some, but not all, of the games at the Brewster Field can be diverted to another city-owned field. That statement to the press was made over a month ago. No one on Brewster Road neighborhood, in the Brewster Road neighborhood, has been notified of any such meeting or the outcome. You told the paper we are going to have this meeting. Again, I'm here to ask you, are we having this meeting? Have you had the meeting? Or are we in the business of telling untruths to the newspaper? Is that what we're doing? I'm also here to tell Mr. Vitro that a statement in the same article about being careful to posting no parking signs could prevent residents from parking in front of their homes. Those parking signs, Mr. Vitro, have been up there. There have already been no parking signs for over 30 years on Watrous Lane. All of the residents have driveways, and the only time it's a problem is when Milford Little League is allowed by the city to negligently overschedule the amount of legal parking available. Additionally, Mr. Vitro stated that an element of common sense must be observed. That's not real nice. When anyone lives in near an athletic field, should expect some noise and other issues as a natural outgrowth. As I've told all 3 of my 4th District aldermen, that the Milford Little League was once 3 different affiliates with Little League Baseball International, the American, the National, and the International leagues here in town. International Little League occupied Woodmont, Brewster Field. The Little League International required, at least 10 years ago, the Milford Little League to condense into one league due to lack of participation. Moreover, last season, the Milford Little League had a total of 6 teams of boys playing baseball in town, ages 11 and 12, and only another 8 teams, ages 9 through 10. That's not a natural outgrowth of the facility. The natural outgrowth of the facility has been to allow the Milford Little League to sublet their field use on Brewster Road to the Core Baseball Training Academy of Orange and their Connecticut Gators travel baseball program, ages 8 through 12. The Gators players are not exclusively from Milford, and 100% of their competition each time the Gators routinely use multiple fields simultaneously at the Brewster Field complex are from out of town. The field use, in other words, is not for the use and enjoyment of the community at large when the Gators play there. There's been no transparency about the financial arrangement between the Milford Little League and the Core Training Baseball Academy. However, as I've informed you, Mr. Vitro, Mr. Moffett, and Mr. Gurman, there are substantial fees being paid to the Connecticut Baseball Training Academy, while the city realizes what I have to ask in compensation for the use of the fields. Finally, the PA use recently at Brewster Field during the Gators daycare baseball camps adds insult to injury. It's loud, completely unnecessary, and takes place during the early morning when people are attempting to enjoy their property. We have no problem with the sounds of children playing baseball, but we do object to the unnecessary PA noise and disturbance. Privacy nuisance, I think it's called. That the city has a responsibility to protect our quality of life. As a recent retiree from teaching with 38 years of service who has paid off a 30-year mortgage with the Milford Bank and whose taxes continue to dramatically increase, the privacy nuisance issues presented by the city and the Milford Little League are regrettable. If you are a retiree in town and you are watching this on Milford Government Access TV, understand that the Board of Aldermen presently up for re-election will not assist you when you need them and will succumb to the mob when, rather than do their duty as elected officials to preserve the common good, as stated in the city charter, to provide for the preservation of order, peace, safety, health, and the welfare of the city and its inhabitants. I'll be back again in September and October and hopefully before Election Day with more as to why the voters of Milford should decide not to re-elect any of our 4th District aldermen. Thanks for your time.
Jerome Payne, 146 Brewster Road. I'm also here about the Little League. One, I fully support the Little League. I have nothing against the Little League. I enjoy, I know when spring's hitting, you hear the balls, the bats. But what I am against is the safety conditions that it is creating in our neighborhood. You have fire hydrants being blocked by illegal parking. You have driveways being blocked by illegal parking. You have the pump house at the end of Watrous Road being blocked by illegal parking. You have, in early May of 2022, a fire truck had to make its passage down the Watrous. There were no cars parked there, and the fire truck had a tough time making the turn without the Watrous-Brewster intersection being clogged. 3 days later, there's an emergency order put in from the police department to have the white lines painted at the corner of Brewster Road. That was they started painting those lines on May 9th of 2022. If you are going to put an emergency order in for these white lines to be painted so an emergency vehicle can make access down Watrous Road if needed, we need to enforce it. If a fire truck had a tough time making that turn without vehicles being parked there, the police department feels the need to put an emergency order in the public works for them to come start painting that on May 9th. How come we're putting all the pressure on the PD to clear that away, and none of the elected officials are putting the pressure on the Little League to say, hey, there was an emergency order put in 3 days after a fire truck had a tough time making that turn by the police department. You guys need to tell your parents to actually park in the parking lot. So what if you have to walk 100 feet to watch your kid's softball game? I also watch cars trying to leave Brewster Road when that intersection is clogged, where all the white lines are painted per the emergency order by the police department. They have to come out. I live right on the corner there. They have to come out, and in order to take a right turn, you literally have to go into the oncoming traffic lane. Somebody's going to get hurt. They have their T-ball field at the end of Watrous Lane, so a lot of cars that are leaving there have 4- and 5-year-olds in the car. You have a lot of children who live on Watrous. It's unsafe for them to leave Watrous Lane when the cars are illegally parked. It's all a scheduling issue. All we hear about is the PD, the PD, the PD, call the PD. We call the PD. We call the PD on a regular basis. I've had my mailman tell me, sorry, I couldn't deliver your mail yesterday because there was a car parked in front of your mailbox. But my zoning tells me I have to have a street side mailbox so the post office doesn't have to get out of their car to put away my mail, but I can't get my mail because the Little League parents are blocking my mailbox. I'm asking you as elected officials, can you guys just tell Little League or to try to work with the residents. That's all we're looking for, is somebody to work with us. You know, the PD shows up, a car has a driveway blocked. They put a ticket on the car. That helped that family none, because guess what? They still can't get out of their driveway because the police won't tow that car. So what good is that $35 or $25 ticket do when it doesn't happen to me, but my neighbors, we had one family, their kid couldn't go to their flag football game because the driveway was blocked. You know, we don't get our mail because our mailboxes are blocked. Can you please just try to help the residents of that area to make it so they can leave watchers cleanly without worrying about hitting someone? And an emergency vehicle, heaven forbid, nobody can plan when you're going to have an emergency. So an emergency vehicle can actually make a clean turn to go down watchers if ever needed. I know the guy who lives behind me is 88 years old. He might need an emergency vehicle. I might need an emergency vehicle. Please try to work with us.
Is there anyone else wishing to address the board?
Hello, thank you for having us. My name is Tori Miko. I reside at 65 Cornfield Road in Milford, Connecticut. I'm here again to discuss or talk about 20 Haystack. They are running a commercial business out of 20 Haystack. My property abuts their property, flanks their property for 100 feet. There is no quiet enjoyment on my property. I cannot go outside and have a meal on my deck on a weekend because they have parties, the weekends that they do have parties. They have volleyball games, the balls come over the fence. There's just no quiet enjoyment. My biggest complaint is that it's commercial. They received a letter from Planning and Zoning that they need to cease and desist the commercial work that they're doing there, of having their parties. I don't know where that stands right now. However, obviously, they're continuing on. I think they got a taste of blood with the money coming in. They want that money coming in with the parties that they put on, with the tickets. They cater it. When I say cater it, they don't provide, I don't know what they provide, but they're running around always when guests are there, taking care of them, making sure they're happy and everything. It's just an annoyance to us. My property is right against theirs. I'm sick and tired of it, and I don't want to have to leave my property when they have parties because of their party. It's not right. Something really needs to be done. If you guys could please look into it, help us out. And I mean, that's our problem that we have on Cornfield and Haystack. If you guys could please come up with a solution for us, I'd really appreciate it. The commercialization needs to stop. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Bradley Sanchez. I live at 6 Haystack Road. I abut alongside 20 Haystack where Mr. Tabaris lives. Again, we did have a cease and desist order. He has had several parties. The most recent one was on August 1st on a Tuesday night where we had anywhere from 18 to 25-year-olds attend this party. It was broken up because there was a lot of yelling and screaming going on. So when the police broke it up, they not only park their vehicles in the street, they park on his lawn. And when all the vehicles left, there was at least 15 to 18 people that ended up walking down the street, and they got picked up by Ubers. But then the entertainment came out. There were 2 women that stayed away, and I can only tell you that lewd acts were going on again in his backyard. Again, I don't know if we want to have this being done in our neighborhood, not only that's going on, but again, we are seeing the remnants of safeties in our street or near our sewer lines. With that said, what are our rights? Like, what is the solution to this? I mean, we drop a bomb in your room here, but what is the bottom line? Do we limit this? Do we give them a fine, a fee? I'm like, what are our rights? I mean, I would like to go in my backyard and just sit back there and have dinner. I don't want to be told that summer's almost over and then you can enjoy yourself. That's not going to fly with me. So somewhere along the line, we need to come up with a solution to this because this is not going away. This is going to be an ongoing thing with a Swimply app, which of course, all that is letting other people contact you outside of Swimply because now they know that your house is being able to be rented out. And then they'll make an agreement with you, tell you about having a food truck, armed security, 40 to 100 people. We'll give you $3,500, $4,000, $5,000 so that we can have this, what I would call a smoker, so we can have women come over, do their acts, and then they get paid afterwards. So, unfortunately, this is going on right next door to me. He has children, middle school kids. I mean, where are the morals in this? It's absurd of what is going on, and nothing is right now being done, but something has to be done. All right, thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is James Ballas. I live at 106 Cornfield Road. I was here last month to address you regarding the issues that my neighbors have brought up regarding 20 Haystack Road. Again, this individual runs a commercial business. It's a resort, as these people have said. He rents out his pool, he rents out his barbecue, he has volleyball courts, he's got people on the weekends. We've asked the neighbors of Cornfield and Haystack, I've asked you to put a noise ordinance in. This gentleman here has asked for a noise ordinance. Apparently, people want a noise ordinance. Additionally, you've got to put a stop to this rental of private property. You cannot chop up your home. What is a home? So I can chop it up and rent out my basement, my bathroom, my kitchen for $100 an hour. So I'm asking you all to do your job. I've asked to get a response. I've emailed most of you. I've spoken to Mr. Rosen here, and he was supposed to provide me some written response regarding where the city stands. Not received anything. I've read your comments in the paper, Mr. Vitro, that we're working on a noise ordinance. I'm told, no, that's not the case. So I'd like to know what's going on. I'd like a response. The neighbors of Cornfield and Haystack need a response. What are you going to do? Either you're not going to do anything, or what? What are you planning to do? Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the board can do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll go on with the meeting. Agenda item number 3, Alderman Beatty. Agenda item number 3 is consideration of minutes.
Board of Aldermen on July 10th, 2023 for approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Agenda item number 4, there was no special organizational meeting. Agenda item number 5, Chairman's report. As always, I just wanted to thank everyone for their comments, and we will certainly look into all of those comments. For the people in the 4th District, I think that people in Woodmont enjoyed a very pleasant Woodmont day. Everything went smooth and everybody enjoyed themselves very much. So, agenda item number 6, the mayor's report and recommendations. Is there a report from the mayor?
Mr. Chairman, thank you and good evening. I know we have a short agenda. I'll keep my comments short. I want to remind folks that Milford will hold its 49th Oyster Festival on Saturday the 19th. The 18th is the date that all the Milford folks come out for setup. This is our 49th Oyster Festival. I still remember going to it when I was in high school. I did not know that it has been voted by National Geographic, voted Milford's Oyster Festival as the best food festival in Connecticut, and voted 5th best oyster festival nationwide. Well, if that's not a ringing endorsement. So I look forward to seeing you and all the folks in Milford celebrating our 49th Oyster Festival on August 19th. August 18th, come down for setup. There's a lot of good times on the 18th as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, just a reminder that also it's Oyster Eve Friday night. Oyster Festival Saturday, Oyster Eve Friday night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're open under agenda item number 7. There is no unfinished business. Agenda item number 8, moving on to new business. There is no item 8A. Moving on to agenda 8B, Alderman Beatty. Agenda item number 8B.
The Board of Aldermen approval is requested for the appointment of Anne Marie Kinley, 94 6th Avenue, as a member of the Pension and Retirement Board to fill the present vacancy, term to expire 12/31/23.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, just like to thank Anne Marie for her volunteering for this position. And your resume is quite impressive, so we look forward to the work that you will be doing. And once again, thank you.
Will our newly appointed, confirmed board member come to the front of the auditorium to be sworn in by our city clerk? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure you may want to vote on the appointment.
That's a great idea. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now you could come up and get sworn in by our city clerk. Thank you.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Thank you.
Move on to agenda item number 8C, Alderman Beatty.
The Board of Aldermen approval is hereby requested for the attached resolution regarding cash advance for UPS batteries at the Milford Police Station.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Agenda item number 8D, Alderman Beatty.
The Board of Aldermen approval is requested for the attached allocation transfer, number 1, fund balance, unreserved, and construction, Rogers Avenue Pump Station upgrade supplemental.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I saw Director Saley here in the chamber.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if he would be able to give us some background on this
Update.
budget memo transfer. Mr. Saley,
Good evening. I'm sorry, I was taking care of a resident out there.
on the Rogers Ave pump station upgrade, can you just give us some background before we vote?
And so a few years ago, it was right around the beginning of COVID, there was estimates put in place for the construction of the Rogers Ave pump station. It's the third or fourth biggest pump station that we have, and it's in a floodplain. So one of the things that we have to do is make it storm resilient, and that's part of the project or the improvements that we're doing here. Originally, it was going to be substantially less. When the bids came in, we realized we were short. The city has a reserve fund that Peter can talk about in the sewer department. And that's where we're taking approximately $600,000 to augment the money that was bonded already for this work. It's a pump station that's in desperate need. I think it was built in 1984. So we're looking for your support.
So through you, Mr. Chairman, to the Finance Director. Peter, so this particular project was over budget?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Alderman Giannattasio. My understanding was that the bids came in and the budget was not enough according to fund the full result of the bid.
That's correct. So we're putting money into it. It wasn't over budget, it was under budget.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next item on the agenda item number 9, there is no new business. Agenda item number 10, moving on to budget memo transfers number 11 and 12. Alderman Beatty.
Just a second. It's number 10. Okay. Approval is requested for budget memo transfers. Consideration of budget memo transfers number 11 and number 12. Funds 1005 and 28112.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to whomever can answer the question, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Iridisi. We're just into a new budget. And the old adage is you either pay now, you pay later. So I guess we're paying later. The idea here is that the justification is shortfall, shortfall, shortfall. So can you elaborate on the shortfalls so early into the new budget?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Alderman Vitale, allow me to clarify, this is related to the old year budget, 22-23. So I'm working to, before we close the fiscal year, working to resolve the shortfall in the accounts.
According to budgets, when secretarial fees are released and forecasted in the budget, why should it be, if there's 12 months or in the commission or whatever the meetings are once a month or 12 months, they get paid X amount of dollars, why should there be a shortfall in the last budget?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Alderman Vitale, that's a good question regarding the secretarial fees. As you can imagine, they have been flat for many years, but the main reason is that we were audited by the IRS in the past year, and as a result, we had to revise the way we pay the secretaries. Instead of paying them through accounts payable with a 1099, if it's over $600, for example, we had to change our procedure to pay them through payroll, and make sure that we comply with wage and hour laws, and also we looked at the union contracts as well to make sure everything was done properly with this revision as a result of the audit. And as a result, the accounts need to be looked at in future budgets for possible increases.
Just a follow-up. So it wasn't caught in April or May. It had to come into the new budget year to rectify that, or reconciliate that issue?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, again, to be clear, this is not the new year. These transfers are being done to resolve the old year, 22-23, which I call the current year, but the new year is 23-24. These are related to 22-23 so that we can work to close the year without having budget deficits.
So in the disclosure of it having been whatever month prior to July 1, it always carries into the new year, new budget?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Alderman Vitale, yes, the fiscal year, to briefly explain, closes on June 30th, but we are still processing the payment of expenditures in July, August, and so these accounts are short in budget memo transfer number 12, and we need to make this transfer so that we don't end the year with shortfalls in these accounts. And I will give the board advance notice that at our next meeting, there will likely be additional transfers needed because I am working hard to try to resolve these shortfalls before we close the fiscal year and start preparing the financial statements for the audit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iridices.
Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Gurman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to, I guess, Peter again. So along the same lines, so the city waste removal costs of $227,000, that also applies for 22-23. And is that increase in costs over the year, or it was just poor budgeting? I mean, what is that cost increase?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, from my vantage point, I would say that part of it is that the account was underfunded, but for more detail, I would defer to Director Saley if he's still available for comment.
Thank you, Mr. Saley, for approaching the stand again. So we're paying an additional $227,000 in solid waste costs. Is that because costs have increased over the years that we didn't, or over the year that we didn't anticipate, or is that it was just underfunded somehow over the year?
I guess you could say it's a combination of both. So for the last few years, we've had a pretty flat budget, and we've had general cost of living every year. When I first started, the trash account to tip in Bridgeport was right around $56, $57 a ton. Right now it's $68, almost $69 a ton. And I've explained to the board it's probably going to go closer to $90 a year from now because of cost. So it's a little bit of both. We've also had a little bit more usage down at the transfer station. So in other words, there's a commercial account, people dump, but we're paying for it. So there's an accounting component, and Peter can get into that more.
So through you, Mr. Chairman. So in anticipation of this coming year, so we're going to really have to adjust that upwards quite a bit as far as the budget.
It's going to be a significant increase, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Director Saley. Mr. Saley, I think Alderman Gurman was referring to the regular wages account in solid waste. Wouldn't that be the wages of the people that work in that department? You're referring to, I think, tipping fees?
I misunderstood. I thought he said the solid waste.
Yeah, solid waste, regular wages. Oh, well, I would like to know about that, the solid wages.
Okay, so an example, I think we took the budget transfer, we took money out of wages to pay the solid waste tipping fee number. I think that's what you were talking about, right? Yes.
Is that right? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the Finance Director, we took money out of the wages account to fund the other account?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes. In essence, that's correct. We are the bulk of the transfer from is coming from regular wages in solid waste, and that is primarily due to savings from vacancies in that account. I also want to make clear, while I just make a comment about the reason I had stated there, and I told this to the Board of Finance, this is to partially cover the shortfall in the city waste removal account, because when we convene again next month, I will present to the Board of Finance, and if it's approved to this board, there is still a remaining shortfall in that account. And the reason I did not recommend fully covering the shortfall in this transfer is because I have to let us finish paying the rest of the bills and let things settle further before I can finalize additional transfers for the remaining shortfalls. Thank you.
One more follow-up through you, Mr. Chairman. So, Peter, to Director Saley's point, this is going to be reoccurring based on the increase of the dump fees that we're going to have to pull from the wage account to make, to supplement? Is that what we're going to do in order to fund this increase moving forward?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I understand the question correctly, in the new year budget, yes, the budget has been finalized for 23-24, so yes, we would have to look at future transfers as well in the 23-24 budget, and definitely for the budget after that, we would have to look at the account again and consider increasing it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, and that is duly noted.
Any more discussion on the motion?
I do. Can you clarify that for me? Am I understanding that the reserve account is funded by the unfilled vacancies in Public Works? Whether it was low and we need the transfers or not, and whether this will be recurring. Is that so? Because this has come up before, particularly when we were doing the budget for Public Works, and I asked my fellow alders who serve on the Public Works Committee to see if they have anything to add or understand about this.
So,
to Peter.
I'm not sure if you want me.
Well, to Peter.
Sure. Through you, Mr. Chair, could you clarify again the question? I'd be happy to answer.
I thought you said that the unfilled vacancies in Public Works were being used as a source to transfer funds to the reserve account. And that was a particular question that was under discussion in the budget hearings leading up to this May 2023 as we made the budget for 23-24. I did not understand that the reserve account was quite so dependent on those vacancies. What would have happened if had those vacancies been filled, and would we have enough from reserve, and where would we transfer from?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Alderman Beatty. Hypothetically, if the positions had been filled, you are correct, we would have less surplus to contend with in the regular wages account, and so we would have less in reserve. And so that would be a challenge for us to find the available dollars to transfer. And I think historically, because of turnover, there has been always some amount of surplus in the Public Works regular wage accounts over the years. But obviously, to your point, the more positions you hold open, the larger the reserve could be, and the more they are filled, obviously the surplus decreases.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for answering those questions. Agenda item number 11, there are no refunds. Agenda item number 12, are there any reports from any standing committees?
Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Giannatasio.
I know Director Saley's still here, and I just wanted to maybe get some feedback because we had some concerned citizens come out and speak to the issue of the fence at Walnut Beach under the Public Works Committee. Can you just tell us what the purpose was for putting the fence in? Because my understanding was that there was people that would ride their bikes through the pavilion and interrupt, concerts or events. That's all I know at this point, but maybe you have some more information that you can share with the members of the board.
Sure. It was multifaceted, actually. We've been speaking with the rec director, Bill Garfield, myself, about how to secure the area, especially for the amount of events we're having down there. There's a lot of private events. I'm not sure if most aldermen realize that. People rent the space. And we have what we had was called a safety fence. Predominantly it was for alcohol, if people were going to have alcohol, but we had it for other reasons too, so it differentiate the public area from this area that people have reserved it for special events. We talked about for a while about what we wanted to put there, something more secure. And the problem with the safety fence is if we put it up on a Friday and there was an event on Saturday, we typically weren't bringing guys in. Our contract requires us to bring in 2 people, and it's 3 hours overtime to take the fence down and put it back up. So it would stay up, and people would take it down and then be trampling over it. It was a safety component with people tripping and falling. So it was multifaceted, I explained. It was part of trying to keep a secure area. And I know, like I say this to people all the time, change for people is very challenging. I live in that neighborhood, and to be truthfully honest, everyone has an opinion. I think the fence is more than appropriate. And I think the actual feedback from most people has been very positive, especially people that have used the area for an event. I know there's certain people that felt uncomfortable. We removed one section because we talked to a few of the individuals. They thought they wanted a little bit more egress onto the bocce court area, which we did. And since then, I drove by there yesterday. There was an event going on. I thought it was well spaced. People that wanted to be inside the area could. People that wanted to be outside were. And that's pretty much the situation over there.
Thank you.
May I have a question?
Alderman Beatty.
Thank you. Just for the record, that was very helpful, but it's not a report of a standing committee. It's a question, right? Back. So just so for the thank you. And thanks for the question.
Is there any more reports of standing committees?
Mr. Chair, just to
Alderman Vitale.
piggyback on some of the issues on the fence issue. The issue of making a decision on putting that fence up was not a board, I just want to make it clear that it was not a Board of Aldermen decision. It was an internal decision that was made because of experiences with the alcohol or renting it out to private parties and whatever it might be under that pavilion. So a lot of people feel as though we had that vote here, and we did not have that vote here. So it was either a decision that was made by Park and Rec with Public Works and so forth. So just for the record, that those are decisions that are almost executive decisions that need to be made at a point that, for safety and welfare of the community, as in the opinion of Park Rec and Public Works. Is that true?
Alderman Vitale, that is correct. Typically, we talk with the different, stakeholders in the sense of the different departments and look at it. We've had a few issues, like I explained, people walking through parties and having events where people, someone's literally walking right through your party to go to the bathroom. This kind of eliminates that. That was one part. The other part was a safety component of just not having a fence on the ground. And truthfully, I know Alderman Gurman didn't appreciate it. He was a little concerned with it. But I thought it was very appropriate. And like I said, everyone has a different opinion. At first, the boardwalk down at Walnut Beach, there was a lot of people at Heritage Sound that were very much against that boardwalk. Now, if you talk to people, they love it. It's one of the crowning jewels of the city, the boardwalk. So I think in time, people look at it. I know Mayor Smith has also offered to revisit it at the end of the year to see what we could do to make some adjustments if need be. But we're going to let it go for a little while and see how it runs.
Thank you.
Alderman Gurman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question since you're still here, Chris. How many parties do they have there in the summertime or year, I guess? Do you know offhand?
You know, Alderman Gurman, I could speak and give you a number 15, 20, but it's not just the parties, it's the events that are down there. And there's a substantial amount of events, not just liquor related, but people that want to have, you know, a little bit of delineation between their event and the amount of traffic. And anyone who's been down at Walnut Beach realizes the beach is very, very active, which is a really positive thing for the community. And I think that's one of the things that the fence brings. It gives a little bit of a delineation there.
Thank you.
Alderman Casey.
So I just want to ask, is there any conflicts historically about, you know, people like before with this fence was brought up, like, you know, you can't, you know, we have a right to you know, area, and people are conflicting, you know, you have the right, it's public area, now it's less than because of the fence, or like, I don't know, because your jurisdiction is public works, and I'm sure like Parks and Recreation is different, but like, has there been any issues been passed about like somebody reserving a place and they say people have resistance to reserving the place because it's like there's a public space, and so like.
Sure. So, I mean, we haven't gotten formal complaints like a letter or someone coming up and speaking before the board, but when talking with people, when you're down there, typically someone will say, hey, you have a bunch of people walking through an event. I mean, that's one component of why we put the fence up. It wasn't the only one, though. I don't know if everyone's seen it. I mean, Alderman Casey, have you seen it?
I ran the 5K with Dan Grumman.
Yeah, yesterday morning. 5K, and then I was there for the, you know, music in the afternoon.
Yeah, the evening. So, I mean, it looked like it was pretty well spaced out last night.
But one of the concerns, I spoke to a resident, say, yeah, sorry, I just want
to remind you, we're on the standing committees.
I'm sorry, I just indulge me for a second, because I was like, one of the concerns was the concert areas as obstructive view. I don't know what's the right answer for that, but I just want to express that for you, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other reports of any other standing committees? Seeing none. Any reports from any special committees? Seeing none, move on to agenda item number. We'll entertain a motion to enter executive session to discuss items 14A and 14B. Joining us in executive session for items 14A and 14B will be the Mayor, Rich Smith, City Attorney
Mr. Chairman.
John Bertram.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's an error. There is no executive session.
Oh, I'm just reading it off the list here, sorry. May I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Opposed? Meeting adjourned.